So this is bugging the hell out of me, listening to all these church people, and they're on all at the same time. And so they're not always on every night, but there's this, it seems to be this overabundance of church people. And I'm going to go out here on a limb and I'm going to say church can be as bad as pornography when it comes down to it, and the brainwashing that goes on. I mean, because that's what they're doing. And I'm sitting there listening, and every last one of them is preaching about drugs. It's like, now how come the pastor is never on drugs? So it's always someone else. So what I'm seeing is this common denominator out of churches is that they use this message that Jesus healed someone from drugs. And I'm thinking, this is some bullshit. I mean, doctors can't even heal people from drugs. Doctors, I mean, I'm just seeing it play out more and more. That's all I'm seeing, is it play out more and more. And so the churches are playing off of medical because they talk about, well, psychology and all that, mental illness and all that. They're all playing off of each other in media right now. And so the church people are pushing this message using the word drugs, and in the sense of that Jesus is healing them. And that's what I'm hearing. Someone better take notice of this, because I'm thinking about, this is what I'm thinking about, because so many people right now are thinking about the internet being dangerous for kids. And so you're going to have kids hearing these messages from church. Now, I put the D word in my title. I'm not sure if I'm going to get views or not with the D word in there in my title. And somehow kids are probably going to show up because that's what's been happening. But I'm just hearing some kind of negative message out of church that's as bad as pornography. And it's a false claim, with them saying that Jesus and church helps heal people from drugs. I don't believe it. They're brainwashed. I mean, it's brainwashing is what it is. It's just as bad as, I mean, and the thing I think about the pastors, not once do you ever hear about a pastor who got on drugs. It's always someone in the congregation. It's someone else. Never the pastor was on drugs. I don't recall a modern story about a pastor who was on drugs and he had a drug addiction problem. It's always the pastor talking about a story about someone else. What is it about that? I mean, this is some die-hard psychological warfare coming out of the church, and they're using YouTube to do it right now. That's what they're doing. They're using YouTube. I mean, now on TV, like if I write something just about church, which I do from time to time, then of course I'm going to get church things surfaced up to me. And a lot of times the music is okay. It's just that their messages, I like listening to some of the music. It's like when I hear the people speak, the messages is what gets old. And there's no budging with them. Listening to church on YouTube right now is like trying to kick the Hoover Dam over. That's what it's like. Me going up to the Hoover Dam and saying, "I'm going to kick you over." And I end up hurting my foot. That's what listening to church stuff on YouTube is right now. I mean, there is some hardcore indoctrination out of church on YouTube right now, and it doesn't set well with my spirit. So all these people are talking about, and if I go on their channel or something like that, or I listen to something, they are preaching this message of I have to repent. There's something wrong with me because I don't go to church and I've not accepted God. It's like I don't want to fucking listen to this bullshit. This is the stuff that didn't set well with me when I was a kid, and that's why I didn't go to church. And I'm empowering myself to say, no, I don't want to believe in this garbage. That's what I'm doing, is empowering myself to say I don't want to believe it. Now they're using it drugs. They're attaching it to drugs for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, yes, I do too know why. I already said it earlier in the video. What I said is they have to have something. Oh, that's why they use the medical and cancer and all that too. They have to have something to claim and profess that they cured someone of something. I mean, it's just a bunch of nonsense. It's nonsense. That's what it is nonsense. Church is nonsense. I wish I had someone who agreed with me to have a conversation with, because the other people I've came across so many of them, and what they're doing is they start off kind of like slow with when they have new people on their channels and stuff, and so they'll just agree with you, and then they kind of like go in for the kill and then start telling you that something's wrong with you. I've had several of them do that. So it's like they allow in new people to express an opinion about something, and then they want to call you names. They're gaslighting. They're doing church gaslighting right now when they tell you that there's something wrong with you, and basically you haven't accepted God. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. And so I have to counter this because I don't hear very many people countering and taking on an opposing view or what they call an op-ed to church or anything like that. Why are people scared to take on an opposing view of church? I mean, I think that that's probably just as bad as, I'm trying to think of an analogy. Well, what should have been bad, like the president having his little doodly doodly with his liaison, with his business transaction. Um, a person's career will be attacked for saying that they don't, well, that's what it is with politics. They've talked about that before too, that, if you say you don't believe in church or something like that, the chances of getting elected president are pretty much zero. But look how Trump pulled it off. He pulled it off beautiful. Trump did. I mean, people voted for him. They didn't care. They didn't care. This church, God-fearing country of the United States of America voted for a man who cheats on his wives. He cheats on his taxes. He's friends with a dictator. And they love the man. I don't know why. I mean, he has every negative aspect of society. Now, granted, he says he's never been on drugs and he's never drank liquor or alcohol or anything like that. But he's got to be the worst portrayal of a man in the world. And this country voted for him. They voted for him. He don't go to church, and this country voted for him. I know. So isn't that something about that? And so, yeah. So I was just listening. I mean, every day church is coming back up again, and this is some hardcore indoctrination. This church stuff is hardcore indoctrination. It's as bad as pornography. I mean, and sometimes some of them, there's the one guy that's featured on YouTube. I like hearing his music, but when he goes on and on and on about being saved and all this stuff, and you have to repent, it's like it gets so old. Oh, you think he sucks? You know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. Well, I like his singing is okay. He's not the best singer in the world, but he can sing. He can carry a tune. Um, you know, eh, but oh my God. it just gets so old, and it's like I like the original YouTube, some of the family vloggers, and right now it's almost making me miss Disney. I'm fucking missing Disney, and that is, it's like at least Disney tries to be nice to people. Disney wants people to go to their theme park. They do arts and crafts, and it's like, but church is like, oh my God, it's depressing. It's fucking depressing. And I mean, and I was talking about this. Let's see. King of Corn says the Dems were attacking the Christian church. The right wasn't. Pretty simple logic. Oh, the Democrats were attacking the Christian church. I don't care who does. I don't know what you mean by the Democrats were attacked. Oh. Do you mean with the same gender thing that they're attacking? That's been going on for a long time, hasn't it? So they've been attacking the Christian church with the same gender thing, or someone has been. So they use that message to attack the church. And I know myself as an individual, I kind of felt like that when I spoke out back, I'm going to say it was 2010, I was speaking out against church, and that was a no-no. I mean, it's like, these people are so brainwashed. I feel like I can do it a little bit more now because I've heard more people speaking out against church, and I've heard a lot of people, they'll say things that sound like they're a believer, but then, like even the guy tonight that's on YouTube, it's like when there's something about the way he's doing the message, because the thing is, I like him. I like his music. It's just the message when he's playing his organ and he's talking about repenting. It's like, oh, I can't listen to that, because it just puts me in the mind of like Billy Graham and the hardcore evangelicals. It's like, just put church and pornography in the same section. Church needs to have pornography right next to it. Pornography needs to be coming up next to church, because both of them are brainwashing. Now, pornography most definitely can be a crime. It can be. The thing is, I don't care who goes to church. I don't care who watches pornography. But as far as the psychological warfare involved, both of them are the same. And so, and it's like, I just like, and church is depressing though. When you hear that stuff about war over and over and over again, and that's all they do is they preach the same crap. How what? What are you talking about? Church being brainwashing? Um, well, when what I said is church is depressing, and it's also brainwashing. It's getting people it's manipulating people. Well, first it's manipulating people to, oh, what I said is it's psychological warfare. Pornography and church are psychological warfare. Both of them are very, very expensive. So, um, well, okay, on YouTube tonight, all these church people are talking about the addiction. They're talking about an addiction. And so they're talking about a drug addiction, and I think that the reason they do that is so that they can use that in church to say God healed someone. The same thing they use cancer as in saying that God healed someone. But when I say that they're the same, it's like, okay, someone is making a personal choice to go to church, someone is making a personal choice to watch pornography. Now, pornography though is worse because of the fact that it's adult activities. Church is talking about war, and it has Sharia law in it. So church actually is it's just stuck in the Bible. Church is nothing but the Bible right now. I mean, that's all, when I was a kid, that's all it was. Church was the Bible. And so they have this thing of they don't want to change the words from the Bible that they use, which means, yeah, I have to bring them both up because to me, Christianity is the same thing as Sharia law, as Islam. I don't see it any other way. I can't because church has allowed um, bad practices to take place. Church has allowed crimes to take place, and so when people teach and talk about Sharia law, the Holy Bible is full of and loaded with Sharia law. I mean, it's a topic for adults to talk about, but not for kids. Um, and see when Pat so okay, I've always said, my gosh, people complain about advertising. They, people complain about advertising and Google on the internet, but yet Google is letting church and pornography run. I'm sure you can find pornography on YouTube. It's been a long time since I've looked to see if it still exists, or because it's really hard to find. Um, but we can find church, though. We can find church, and they're talking about all the bad things that happen and and there's men who are wanting to hit it home about the thing of women, their places in the home, and um, when I hear them talk about church on YouTube, though, it's just like listening to Islam. And sometimes I might be coming across, maybe that's what doesn't set well with me, is because when I listen to a lot of Christian pastors, now some of them are softer toned. There's some of the diehard Islam that comes out of Africa now, and I can't listen to them at all. I can't listen to them at all. Because it's just, now there was a, who was, oh, there was a guy just this morning. I get up and have my computer on, and I think I wrote TD Jakes because I thought he looked like TD Jakes, and he was talking about, I can't remember what it was. He was talking about more, people being on the internet, I think, and so he seemed to have a kind of a little grudge about people being on the internet, and I asked the question, and so he was talking about people not going to church, and I wrote the question, can a woman be a pastor? And he just gave a huge resounding no. No woman can be a pastor. So he was doing the Islam thing. That's in my mind, when they're die hard against women, and churches are still preaching against women. Well, we don't want a woman to do anything, and it's all these men doing it. Then it just becomes anti-woman. When I ask the question, can a woman be a pastor? And it's no, and it's out of the African church. But this guy didn't have an accent, though. He spoke very dominant English. And so I was thinking that he was an American citizen. And he said, no, this is what's in America. I mean, there is some hardcore brainwashing and indoctrination that's in this nation, with religion. Now pornography can be suppressed on the internet to various degrees for the most part, and it can be left in the adult realm, even though they always say kids can find it. But the two of them are very similar, abuses that take place, atrocities that take place. Absolutely, I'm against a patriarchal society. Isn't that a king and a queen? Yeah, I mean, and isn't that what's being displayed? What people are really upset about right now is the portrayal of President Trump being like he's some kind of dictator and king. Isn't that what's going on right now? I mean, now I've heard some people say that what Trump is doing is kind of like all staged, and that he's one of the few people that would actually volunteer to be a president and portray himself as a dictator. So I think everything Trump is doing is probably symbolically, and he's not. Oh, it is, because they said today on C-SPAN, they said that that if Trump had agreed to end the war with Ukraine, they said he can't do that by himself. And so there's always someone there who says that there's a whole bunch of things he can't just do because he's not a king. And so I think Donald Trump is, nothing but a puppet president. And he decided to volunteer to portray himself as a dictator of sorts, or play the CEO. I thought he was just going to be the CEO part. I really didn't think he would head off into the dictator part, but that's where legacy media pushed it into, was him being a dictator. And that's really that is what it feels like, because I've always expressed that myself, that CEOs of companies, the way they run things, they are sort of a dictator. So when we talk about corporate America and capitalism and, but look at all these rich guys, they're just all these rich guys. And, they find ways to make all this money. So something's going on that's very lopsided in this country for them to be able to do that. Men leading is what you're against. I'm not against men leading, because that's all we've ever had. I have no choice in it. All I'm asking for is, can't we have a woman from time to time that does something? Otherwise, we still have Sharia law and Islam in the United States. That's what it feels like to me. If we can't have a woman who is president every once in a while, she don't have to be president all the time. It would be great to have one. In 250 years, we have not even had one president. Yet these other countries have had female presidents. The United States is basically kind of like the Middle East. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's sort of the point. So we've got Russia is involved, the Middle East is involved, Israel and Palestine, all these countries in the Middle East that changed their names. And so the United States is heavily involved with dictators, which is kind of funny. It's ironic when you think about it. And it's just like an elephant in the room here for no one, I guess, to think of it that way. We push all this Christianity and garbage and crap, and we have capitalism and inflation, and it just falls on deaf ears, and no one wants to do anything about it. They just want to let it happen. We know there's a problem. Millions of people know there's a problem. The politicians know there's a problem. But yet we've got this systemic. Obama is the one who actually said, he is the one who said that we have systemic discrimination, is what he called it. Now, I can't necessarily call it discrimination, though. It's systemic economic inflation is what it is. And so maybe that worked for him to get elected based off of systemic discrimination, but it's like, well, technically we can use the word discrimination if we fixate and focus that on the wealthy people, on capitalism. Absolutely, it can be considered discrimination, because money does discriminate. It discriminates a person from being able to purchase a home because of economic inflation. I mean, that's always made sense to me. Voting only on the sex of a person is very reductive. Okay, so why have we've had 47 different presidents Well, no, probably less than that. I don't know how many presidents we've had. I know we've had 47 different terms, right? No, 40, that's 47. Trump was 45 and 47, even though he's the same person. And I know that happened. There was another split with another president, and I can't remember which one it was. Um, but I know men always throw out that argument about voting based off on gender. And so you're just saying we should continue to have men as presidents. I mean, why in the world did the United States put money into affirmative action back in the day when they had that? Well, and then there was all the discussion about DEI, and Ron DeSantis, bless his heart, says, well, this is nothing but more discrimination. And it's true. I mean, and that's why I've always said you have to be careful with a lot of this stuff because of the fact that that's where it turns to, and um, but with all the DEI and CRT and everything, it just shows that a lot of discrimination comes out of the minority cultures though too. No women have voted for men also. Yeah, true, women have voted for men, but it's like we can't even get a candidate in there. I mean, we tried to get Hillary in there. People hated her. I guarantee they hated Kamala. The next woman, they're going to hate her too. And it's primarily men who hate the woman. Why in the world is it? So you put Trump in, and he basically is a rapist. He's purchased a prostitute and paid for her on a transactional business expense. And so he's, according to Tisha James, he's marked the price of his buildings up really high. And so he's causing inflation. I mean, basically that's what I heard from her. He's inflating the price of his buildings and marking them up really, really high. And some people are suggesting that there's other things that have gone on with between him and Jeffrey Epstein. I actually said that I think that it's money laundering, that I think Donald Trump is actually a pen name for Jeffrey Epstein. So when they were talking about Epstein Island, I just made mention of that. I think it's possible that Jeffrey Epstein is kind of like the government when the government uses the names Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. I think Jeffrey Epstein could be a pen name like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And so Donald Trump is actually Jeffrey Epstein. That's what I've been thinking. And so maybe that's why, because I'm thinking, when a lot of so they take the names of funds and might put a real person to it. That's what it really, really seems like to me. That a lot of this stuff they're doing in fun or just in jest and kind of poking fun at, um, things that they don't tell the rest of the American public what's going on. But I'm thinking that Jeffrey Epstein was not even a real person. But what media do you get your information from? Well, right now it's just mostly from the internet. Every once in a while, right now I'll watch C-SPAN maybe once every couple of weeks. I was watching it more than that, but right now I can't stand to watch it because it's too liberal. C-SPAN has gone far liberal. And there were some guys calling in and they were saying C-SPAN is liberal. They're right. When I listen to them, they're absolutely right. C-SPAN is going to have to revamp itself because it is liberal media. And it is a monopoly too. C-SPAN is a big monopoly, except when they just show the government stuff. when they don't have a reporter there and they just show the cameras running and letting the politicians talk and stuff. That part's okay. But the Washington Post part is very, very liberal. So I wouldn't want to get rid of C-SPAN because I actually like the idea of seeing what they do. And, it seems like they talk about a lot of stuff, but nothing ever gets done. They don't ever get anything done. And they really need to tackle inflation. And it's like, this is not working. And then there's people on the internet who tell me that, they'll tell me that everything is fine. And other people have been pointing this out too, that they're being told that things are great, things are fine, when they're not. So there's a bunch of liars out there. That's just what I'm hearing, a bunch of liars when they say everything is fine, the country is great, and we don't have inflation. People have said that before. We don't have inflation. And, that makes no sense to me. But at the same time, and then people saying, oh, well, you're not homeless. It's like, well, you're not living my life. You don't even know me. So we have a monopoly, though. We have a big monopoly. I mean, I don't trust what they put on YouTube. I don't trust that at all. I don't trust the local news at all. I used to at one time. I used to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I don't trust them at all anymore. Um, they do too much manipulation. And that was the whole thing with the voter stuff. Legacy media was a big problem with voter manipulation. And so, is news really necessary? No, I don't think it is. I don't think news is that necessary. So why do you trust what they say about Trump then? I actually don't. I don't. I gave Trump the benefit of the doubt earlier. I don't trust anything that they say about Trump. I actually think everything about Donald Trump has been made up. I don't think that anything happened to him. I think the Butler, Pennsylvania thing was all staged and made up. I don't think any of it was real. So I think he's a puppet president. I think he's an acting president, which means that he's a puppet. He's just doing things for whatever reason, because I think he's getting ready to retire. And so he found the means to be able to retire in a big sort of a way, and that's by being president. So I think Donald Trump was nothing but an actor his whole life, and he was paid really, really well. And he probably isn't rich, but he just found a clever way to have his retirement party, and that's by being president. A guy died at Butler, though. How can you stage that? Oh, you can easily stage any of that. I mean, I wasn't at Butler, so I don't know. I don't know that a guy died. It's the same thing as staging September 11th. But they said 3,000 people died, didn't they? But then there's people who said that the buildings were pretty much empty and that there was nobody in the buildings, and everybody got a notice. They said everybody got a notice to stay home the day before. So there's a whole bunch of people who got a notice to not come to work for some reason on September 11th. But I wasn't there for any of them. So why should I trust it that any of it's real? Because I actually think all of September 11th could have been staged too. So if it was nothing but the buildings being imploded, then nobody died. But it would be easy to stage Butler, though. Butler, Pennsylvania. It would be easy to stage that. But I don't trust what they're saying about Trump. I think he's a lousy president. Well, I think I need to get off of here. Thanks for the chat, King of Corn. It's nice to chit-chat with someone who's an adult. Did I trust Biden? No, I didn't. I didn't vote for Biden. No, I didn't trust Joe Biden either. Um, I, I actually at one time, I kind of always felt that the presidents were a figurehead. You know, when I say figurehead, they were just symbolically the leader, and there was other people to do things. And so, no, I didn't trust Biden because he was coming off of the insurrection and COVID, and so I think that that's why Trump did things the way that he did, was because he knew that, well, when Joe Biden won, he would get blamed for Trump's economy. And so I think that what's going on, though, with more and more women entering the workforce, that's a problem. And so they can't get a grip on what's going on because there's more and more women who are in the workforce, and they need money too. And plus we have inflation, and so there's no solutions. You know, the people who, you know, if you ask people for advice or something on, you know, where to get help for homelessness and finding a place to live, well, they always offer up, you know, they just tell people to go get a job. So for Biden, that looks to be the case. Mental decline was obvious way before media or the Democrats addressed it. Yeah, well, I kept hearing about a mental decline. I mean, my goodness, he's an elderly man. I mean, so doesn't it seem to be normal that he would have had somewhat of a mental decline? Or should he have just never been president, never have ran for president? I mean, it's not that unusual for someone as they age, from what I hear, to have a mental decline, and then eventually they pass away. But I did hear him speak at, I heard him speak recently at, he was invited to an event and they gave him some award. This was maybe about a week or two ago. They gave him an award and he sounded perfectly fine. And so some people were saying that Biden was faking his Alzheimer's, that he really didn't have Alzheimer's, he was just faking it. And so I think he did that. I do think he faked it. And I think that he did that so that he would have a reason to get out of it, and Kamala would be the nominee. But I just think he faked his whole mental decline.